2 weeks late after the release of Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Does the game still hold up? Let's find out. Welcome to a new series for the channel where we're going to be reviewing games for brokies. Yeah, I'm talking to you. You guys who can't really afford to buy games as they release, you have the budget to buy one every 3, maybe 6 months. This series is for you. I'm gonna buy the games with my own hard-earned money, and I'm gonna formulate your opinions for you. I'm gonna tell you whether you should buy the games or not, so you don't have to, because at the end of the day, my opinion is absolute. Now, before we get into the video, I don't need to be too put off by the length of it, because the first part is the actual review. You're gonna get the rating at the end, gonna get the breakdown of it all, but the rest of the video is going more into depth about the game, the mechanics, all the little intricacies, whether you're gonna want to keep playing it after the story's done. Basically, just gonna give you more information so you can decide whether you actually want to spend the money on it, because this game is £70. £70, crazy. But yeah, let's get into it. When the game first released, it had a really bad rep, due to leaks about the shop, which just ended up being cosmetics, which is neither here nor there. How it was a live service game, which I think people had a really bad taste in their mouths from games like The Avengers, Gotham Knights, and Guardians of the Galaxy. And also how there was leaks about how certain characters died in the game. I'm not sure if I can tell you about those deaths without it being spoilers, but I'm sure you saw the leaks. Leading people to judge it way before it even released. Hell, even reviews from IGN were negative. And when IGN gives a negative review, a game's bad. But weirdly enough, that negative review from IGN was what prompted me to pre-order the game. Not just order it, pre-order it. I was like, I had to see this for myself. Thus, here we are reviewing the game right now. Let's get into the first part of this review, the story. The first point I have on this script I'm looking at right now is that the story kind of lacks depth. And it does. And I'm not sure, because I'm not trying to psychoanalyze the devs here, but I'm not sure if it was them being rushed or if it was by design. Because in my head, from what I've seen, what I played, the story was very short. It was very concise. It gets to the point. And I mean it gets to the point. I mean, you're fighting your first Justice League member really early into the game, way faster than you would have thought. Like, this is not a spoiler, but the first person you fight is Green Lantern, but he's a reoccurring member for the first few hours of the game until you fight him later on. Anyways, to the point. I'm not sure if they made the story short so you can get to what they really wanted to show you, which was the endgame content. But we're gonna get onto the endgame content later. We'll circle back to that. The story itself was really short. It basically consists of Brainiac coming to Earth, which we don't see. What we do see is he's brainwashed the whole Justice League, and there are tidbits throughout the game where you complete Riddler challenges to find out how he did that. So the basic premise is Brainiac comes to Earth, brainwashes the Justice League, and has them doing his dirty work. Basically, there's 4 Justice League members that have been taken over: Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, and the Flash. And those are his 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. But the point is, you're meant to kill the Justice League, as is in the title. And once you kill them, you go and fight Brainiac. And then the endgame content begins. Now, the game itself is pretty decent. However, the story is its weakest part. And there isn't so much a story as it is a vehicle to get you to the endgame content, like I was saying before. If I was to individually rate the story, I'd probably give it a 3 or 4 out of 10, which doesn't seem great, but it's not a bad story. It's just not fully fleshed out. It doesn't last too long. Like I said, the main point I think they're trying to get here is that you finish the story and start playing the endgame content immediately. Now, to me, the strongest part of the story was the characters. I absolutely adored the interactions between Harley, Deadshot, Shark, and Boomerang. They're all funny in their own right. The comedic timing is amazing. Their interactions are great. I love the camaraderie they develop over the course of, well, the short story. There are a lot of negative things about this game, but the characters is not one thing you should ever hear a bad thing about. The voice acting as well, bloody amazing. I think Boomerang had my favorite voice actor in this.
Prize. What are you waiting for, you pair of villains? Get them!
Unlucky. Ow. How's that money not falling out?
Oh, that money never got you much in the way of loyalty, huh?
Piss off, widow. What did loyalty get you? Oswald Cobblepot. Oh, yeah. What? All in it together now, mate. Okay, Waller. We bagged Penguin.
Someone's been busy. How'd you have time to make all this, Ozzy? Waller, the Penguin is in flight. Repeat, the Penguin is in flight.
Then let's clip his wings.
That looks like it hurts.
Fricasseed Penguin. Let's get him to... Oh my god, he's getting up!
Hitting him again.
Bro, they're gonna fry his brain. Then he can't make guns for you.
He's ran out the door. Somebody stop him. Did that get him?
No. It very much did not get him. Waller, blow up his head.
Shark. I'm disappointed. Oh, you bloody Darrow. We could have done that all day.
Flash as well. He had quite a bit of dialogue, and he was amazing, especially as Evil Flash. Now that's just the main cast in terms of those four, and some of the Justice League members. Those are amazing as well. Shout out to Kevin Conroy's Batman, so very iconic. Wonder Woman is great. I really enjoyed her in this game. The limited interactions you had with her, she was great. But what I didn't like were the side characters. This is Penguin, this is Hack, this is Toyman, and this is Poison Ivy. I didn't hate all of them, but in terms of gameplay, in terms of what they added to your experience as a player, I felt they were quite useless. Especially if you had bought the deluxe version of the game. That gives you some weapons, and I feel like if I had bought the base game, I would have liked them better. They would have been more useful. However, the weapons I got from the deluxe version were good enough to take me to the end of the game, which says a lot. I didn't have to change my weapons at all. I didn't really get any good pickups, but we'll discuss that later on. That's a different part of the gameplay I'd like to discuss. Now, if this wasn't the first review you've watched, then you've 110% heard about the movement, and it's not to be oversold, undersold, over-exaggerated, under-exaggerated, but the movement is extremely fun. It's extremely rewarding to learn, to really find out how to chain movement together. It's very fun, and then mastering the movement is probably one of the best parts of this game. Whether you're on console or PC, it's definitely it feels very rewarding to actually take time to learn the movement in this game, trying to improve at it, adding gunplay into that, you know. And then what's also great is each character's movement is unique, and you can spend just hours learning each character's movement and how to implement their movement with the gunplay to create different kind of opportunities, different type of combat opportunities for yourself. And with each character having unique movements, some are better technically than others. Shark and Boomerang have the fastest and probably have the best verticality with their movement, but I played a lot of Harley. I basically exclusively played Harley after I started playing the game properly. So, but I liked her movement. She probably has the not the simplest, but she does have the simpler of the four. But it's hard to learn nonetheless. But yeah, I do like how fast and dynamic it is, and it's just really rewarding. So that's one part of the game they really cooked on. They cooked right there. Moving on to gunplay, I feel like I should have a lot more to say about this, but honestly I don't. There's a lot of different guns. They all have a lot of different perks. It's just about chopping and screwing, finding what works for you, what you prefer, whether you prefer SMGs, assault rifles, LMGs, snipers. But obviously, each character has two primary weapons they have access to. Shark is LMGs and assault rifles, I think. Deadshot is assault rifles and snipers. Harley is SMGs and LMGs, and Boomerang is assault rifles and shotguns. So each character does offer a unique combination of weapons. You have to play different ones to find to use different weapons, which is kind of okay, but it's kind of limiting. I feel if they design the game in such a way that you're gonna end up playing one character, so I feel like they should have let you use all the weapons for one character regardless, especially for Harley. If she can use LMGs, why can't she use assault rifles and snipers? I feel that was quite limited, especially when there's different types of enemies. Some enemies are more susceptible to certain guns. For instance, the sniper enemies, I'm having to shoot them halfway across the map, spraying and praying with an LMG or SMG, when if I had a sniper rifle, I could just snipe them back and actually one-shot them. But you know, I feel that's something they kind of missed on, but it's not a deal breaker per se. You can still have your mains in this game. It's just something you need to be aware of, that you don't have access to every gun unless you're switching between characters in game. With that being said, there is a good variety of guns for you to pick from, to pair with your combos, to pair with all your other items in your inventory. There are lots of perks, and well, that is one fun part of the game, which is in a lot of RPGs, where there's perks on your guns that you can mix and match with your other items in your inventory to create better combos for yourself, to do more damage, increase fire rate, do more damage against certain enemies. So it does reward you for playing the game constantly, finding new gear for yourself to improve in your playstyle. Now, speaking of playstyles, let's talk about the skill tree. Now, for each character, there's 3 distinct playstyles you can spec your skill tree around, and they do kind of actually help based on what you choose. For Harley, if I remember correctly, because I'm doing this straight off memory, there was Slugger, which was based around your melee attacks. There was Bomber, which obviously based around the grenades, and there was the one that favored movement, grappling around, doing damage while you're grappling. And each character has their own 3 playstyles. Now, they designed the skill tree in such a way that it's very easy to respec. You can change it on a whim based on if you keep playing based on what you learn. If you prefer a different type of playstyle, you can literally respec into it very easily. And from my experience, speccing into one playstyle was quite beneficial. I ended up going to a lot of the melee and the bombing. I specialize in those two because of the way I was playing. I was getting a lot of shield harvesting, and you do a lot of damage that way. You do a lot of bomb drops, things like that. It was quite fun. However, my main gripe with it is that it's just based around damage modifiers. The more you upgrade it, it just increases damage percentages, combos, and things like that. It doesn't actually give you any new skills. It doesn't unlock any new skills other than your like ultimates, your traversal mods, and things like that. And to me, it's a bit boring. It's just a way to continually buff yourself and scale upwards for endgame content. It's not actually a version of a skill tree that I enjoy playing with, to be quite honest. I just wish there was more depth, to be honest. That's where I'm at with it. I just wish there was a lot more depth to the system. I mean, when you hit level 30, which is the max level for each hero or character or villain, I don't know what you want to call them, but once you hit level 30, you then unlock a second skill tree, and every time you level up within that, you can put 1 point towards a percentage of a percentage for a different stat. For instance, you can upgrade your SMG damage, your LMG damage, your overall damage, your overall health, your overall shield capacity. But these are percentages of percentages, and you have to play so much to actually upgrade these things. I don't know if it's worth it, but of course that is there for you. But again, it exasperates the point I was just making about how the skill tree doesn't actually give you any new fun mechanics to engage with. Instead, it just upgrades your stats, which to me is a bit boring. But it is there. Again, like I said, this game was clearly designed in mind for end game content, the replayable content that you're going to keep playing, that they want you to keep playing for months upon months, or however long this game's going to be actually supported for. So here's my conclusion for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. In general, the game is actually quite good if you know what you're actually in for. And I think when the game was being released, when it was being promoted, I think there was a lot of misinformation about what the game actually was. I think because they had said explicitly that it was in the Arkham universe, a lot of people were expecting a different game than what they were going to get. They weren't expecting a third-person looter shooter where they've gotten rid of the gritty, edgy nature of the Batman Arkham games in replacement for an arcade-style looter shooter. And honestly, if you had that notion in your head about this game, you need to get rid of it ASAP, or else you won't enjoy this game for what it actually is. And for what it actually is, I think the game's good enough. That's where I'm at with it. It's good enough. I've mentioned multiple times in this review already that this game is clearly built in mind for endgame content, clearly to play continuously, and they want you to wait for the battle pass and the new DLC content. To me, it does a good enough job at what it clearly aimed to be. However, it does indeed fall flat in other areas, like the in-depth story, because honestly, it's not replayable. I don't think it's replayable at all. I think once you've completed it, that's it. The way you, just as a side tangent by the way, I think the way you level up your other characters if you didn't play them through the story is using them in endgame content, having your high level friends quite literally just carry you through endgame content, and you can level them up that way. I wish the world of Metropolis was more fleshed out. It's very boring. Once you finish the game, it's so very boring. It's just rooftop enemies, rooftop enemies to clear out. There's sometimes some enemies on the road you can just go fight, but that's it. The only way the game is engaging in the end game is to do the missions that they set up for you. And to do those, sometimes you have to do some missions in Metropolis. But again, it's boring. Honestly, it is quite boring. I didn't want to admit it at first when I played because I thought it was fine. I was having fun. But now that it's 2 weeks later, my mind's clear. It's boring. It was. So with all that being said, I'm giving this game I had originally in the script a 7 out of 10, but now that I'm speaking, I'm saying this out loud, I think this is a 6 out of 10. And to me, that means if you're into live service, you're into third-party looter shooters, then I'd say wait for sale. Wait till it's on sale and give it a try. You'll likely enjoy it. However, if it's not your genre, don't bother. It's not a game I'd recommend you go out of your way to try. No way. Especially if, like I said, you fit the bill for what I introduced at the beginning of the video. It's not for you. Me, however, I do enjoy these types of games where there is some kind of strategy involved, where it is third person, there is shooting elements in it. I did enjoy it. Whilst I was playing in the moment, I very much enjoyed it. I didn't let the opinions of the internet take over. I enjoyed it for what it was. But overall, for this review, it's a 6 out of 10. It doesn't get my stamp of approval, but I have to say it doesn't deserve the hate it was getting. For what it is good. But that's all it gets. It's a good one. 6 out of 10. So look, I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you've formed some kind of opinion from this. And yeah, good luck. Have fun gaming, guys. See you next time.